Okay, welcome back to the SCIF. It looks like we've got John Gordon in the green room, so I'm going to bring him in now. John, thanks for joining us, man. Late notice. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Nice to be with you, Todd, as always.
So I got a lot to talk to you about, but as our audience may know, you were the former Attorney General candidate in Georgia, so you're familiar with the law. You're a legal a lawyer. Let's start with Charlie Kirk. I noticed you put something out on your show over the weekend, but what do you think about what's going on right now?
Well, first of all, just overwhelming sadness.
Yeah.
For his wife and children. I knew Charlie. I knew him reasonably well. We weren't on speed dial with each other, but I spent an hour and a half with him 8 months ago, one-on-one, and we had just a great conversation. He was one of, seriously, this is not hyperbole. He is maybe the smartest person I've ever personally known.
I've noticed that, the quick mind.
It just unbelievably. And he went to Baylor and enrolled, and Ken Starr was the president of Baylor. And he told Ken Starr in the first week of college, the first day or two, that he had this idea of starting this recruitment effort for college students. And Ken Starr said, listen, you're never going to be satisfied unless you do it. Go do it, and do it now. And if it doesn't work out, there will always be a place for you at Baylor. So Charlie withdrew like after 2 days and started Turning Point USA. I met him originally in 2017 in Atlanta with him and Candace Owens. And I was blown away then. And the more I got to know him, the more respect I had for him. And what he accomplished is nothing short of just, I don't have enough superlatives really. But
I agree with you. And what is interesting to me is he just did it through hard work. I mean, I'm sure he had a lot of donor help, but he worked his ass off, right? From my understanding. You may know more than me.
Well, no, I think it was all hard work. And I know many of his donors, and they're sophisticated. They don't just throw their money around lightly. But in that meeting that I had with him, I just tagged along with one of my good buddies who on the spot gave him $200,000 for Get Out the Vote in 2024. I think Charlie really can should be given not an insignificant amount of credit for Trump's victory.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why, I don't know what happened. I'm not willing to, I'm open to receiving information about the shooter, and there's a lot of smoke.
Yeah, there is.
Dan Bongino said that it's bigger than just this one individual. And
I didn't hear that. That's
yeah. And he said they were investigating it. Somebody paid the money for it.
Yeah.
It was, and he planned it.
Yeah.
This wasn't an impulsive decision. He drove 3.5 hours, according to Emerald Robinson, who I recorded a segment on for The Truth this Saturday. We're going to put it up as a podcast today.
Oh, great.
And she reported in her Substack that he drove 3.5 hours to get to the venue, that he then went and encased the joint, then went back, changed clothes, and then reappeared. She doesn't buy the narrative that the weapon was under his clothing and that's why he was limping. I don't know whether I agree with her on that. I mean, it's a plausible explanation for me on how he got the gun up there. But then how did he get the gun out of there? I mean, we see him throw something off the roof, but I don't think, I'm sorry, I don't know how to silence this new phone. I put it on Do Not Disturb, and it just completely ignores me. So apologies for that. I'll turn it down to 0, which I thought I'd already done. But she doesn't believe that the rifle would have fit in that pack. And in order to have broken it down, you'd have to have a special tool, and it wasn't something that you could do in just a matter of seconds. It would have taken time, and that's according to gun
Said that. Yeah.
too. And then there was this crazy guy that keeps showing up at different places. He was in his 60s. As soon as the crowd realized what had happened, he yelled, "Shoot me, shoot me, shoot me."
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Yeah.
She considered that to be a diversion, and it drew law enforcement away from the real suspect and put it on this kind of crazy guy. And then they almost immediately dismantle the tent and take the camera down. Well,
they've done construction. They've literally wiped it off the face of the earth. They've ripped it all up and started building something new.
That is evidence tampering.
Yeah.
Which is a felony.
Yeah.
And so now all of a sudden, I'm telling you, I am the quintessential conspiratorialist, and I don't want to be.
Yeah. Well,
I don't want, I would just rather be able to accept the narrative and move on.
Yeah.
But then you see all these things that don't add up. And, I've been railing on the JFK assassination for 60 years. And now it's finally been proven that my instincts and what I've believed to be the truth, it was 100% correct. And then we look at Butler. I mean, we haven't got any answers on Butler, nothing.
Yeah.
And none of that makes sense. So here's another Butler. Emerald Robinson thinks that there are more similarities and differences with Butler. And we need to know where the money came from. They need to trace the money. And we know that he was in chat rooms with other people and gave advance notice of what he was going to do.
Well, some people in the crowd seem to have known it was coming. That's out there. The texts which were released yesterday were very weird. There was no timestamps on them. It was like manipulated. I mean, what about the exit wound? What about the bullet trajectory? Where's the bullet? I mean, where did it go in? Where did it come out? I mean, all we saw was one hole with no other information. So.
And when I first heard that the bullet hit his body gear, his bulletproof vest, and it ricocheted into his throat, it just sort of registered with me. That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Would a bullet ricochet upward? And Emerald said if you
it's over here, and it doesn't unless it came in here and went out. I don't know. It's
so sad on one hand. And then, we're in the 3 stages of grief right now. Yeah. I mean, at first I was like, oh, he will be okay. Surely he'll be all right. They rushed him to the hospital. I'm waiting to hear that it was just, we wanted another kind of Butler outcome. Okay. That, he was just grazed by the bullet and he's living. And then you hear a short time later that he's actually expired, that he has left this earth. And my brain just went into denial that this cannot be, and then just overwhelming sadness within a matter of seconds as I accepted the news and we got confirmation of it. And now I'm just flat out pissed off that this is not the country that we should be living in.
No, it's
with this sort of terrorism surrounding us. And then you look at the left lunatics that are celebrating his death. They are seriously mentally ill.
Completely agree.
They are seriously mentally ill.
Literally brainwashed.
And, I'm just going to say it. Lyndon Baines Johnson created the welfare state. He acknowledged in the moment that he was doing it for the intended purpose of winning over the black vote. Mm-hmm. And now 60 years later, we've created a welfare state in this country, and it's not limited to black people. Yeah. It is expanded to anybody that wants to stand in line and get a handout. And what it has done is created a class of people that are dependent on the state. They're never satisfied. They only want more. They feel entitled on the one hand and resentful on the other. And that's just pure out human nature. And Newt Gingrich told me that 35 years ago, that these people go to the welfare office, they get mistreated by the person behind the desk who's overwhelmed and perpetually angry. And so they mistreat them and they're disrespectful to them. So the people leave with their grocery money and they're just pissed off and they're mad at the world, and they lack self-esteem, because being dependent on others destroys self-esteem.
Sure.
doing what you and I do every day, which is working our butts off, and your listeners.
Yeah.
They're working to sustain their families and to get a piece of the American promise. And that builds self-esteem. It's got to change. I really, Todd, and I'll be quiet after this.
No, that's fine.
I'm just rambling on and on, but I'm
that's why I wanted you on. You have a lot of good insight. So.
Well, I am wanting to start a movement in America today.
Yeah.
That no one gets welfare or a free college education unless they serve 2 years in the military.
Yeah.
I think that is the solution to this problem. All able-bodied Americans age 18 to 22 go serve the Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force for 2 years. And then if you lack the funds, sure, we'll help you get a college degree or trade.
It's a great idea. Would solve a lot of problems, recruitment, expand the base of military training. It would be self-discipline. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff that comes out of that for sure.
Zell Miller told me that he was on a track of destruction and that he voluntarily signed up for the Marines. And he told me personally, look at me in the eye. He said it saved my life. It put me on a different trajectory. And I don't know about you, but I actually love Zell Miller. I came to know him, and I had some of the best conversations of my life with that gentleman. And I worked so hard to defeat him. When he ran for governor the second time, I was all in with Guy Milner. Yeah. And I don't regret that because Guy's a wonderful person. He is a close personal friend who I am totally devoted to. He is a wonderful American, 90 years old plus, and he is still working, and most of his work is for charity. People don't realize what a fine, wonderful human being Guy Milner is. So I worked so hard for him to beat Zell Miller, and then in retrospect, I think Zell Miller was a phenomenal governor.
For our audience sake, he was the former governor of Georgia, and he was the guy that made every newborn get a CD of classical music. Am I right?
That does sound vaguely familiar. He gave one of the best keynote addresses that has ever been delivered to the Republican National Convention, and he was a Democrat. And I don't know if you remember that or not, but he brought it, baby. He was fire and brimstone. And he was yelling, and then he got in an argument with that MSNBC talking head, Chris, what's his name? And they really got into it. And Zell said, well, why don't you come down here and we'll settle it the old fashioned way. Bring your gun and we'll just have a duel. Chris Matthews, that was his name.
That was a big deal. I mean,
that was a big deal.
It was a big deal. I remember that. Wow.
But I had lunch with then Senator Miller in the Senate dining room 3 or 4 weeks later. And he said, yeah, I probably appeared to be more angry than I wanted to present that night, but I just got going and I couldn't stop it. And then he gave me a little tour of the Senate chambers and the Capitol. And you could hear these muddled murmur coming out of this one closed door room. And he said, yeah, that's the Democratic caucus weekly luncheon to which I am no longer invited. And then we can continue our tour. He was just a wonderful guy and so real, just so real. Loved his family, loved his wife, Shirley. Yep. And
I agree with you. I mean, I have good memories of Zell Miller because grew up in Georgia, but I need to take a quick break. Can you hang with me for one more segment? We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Then they're sitting eating their dog food, and the family sits down and gets lasagna, and they're like, what is that? And they have this sense like, actually, maybe what I'm eating is shit. Maybe they're getting the good stuff, but you don't really know. And that's why we don't feed dogs to the table, because the second you do, they're done. They're like, really? Beef eyes? I don't think so. I'm not eating that shit anymore, because they know better. And that's what Zin is. Like, the second you have it, you're like, what? Are you serious? I put that shit in my mouth. And you're mad, obviously, at the people who did it to you, but also at yourself for, like, settling for that, for settling.
Like, we're not actually dogs.
No, we're not dogs. And, like, why would I be eating beef anus when I can eat lasagna?
Welcome back, John. I wanted to talk to you about Fani Willis, but quickly, you had something on censorship on X on your show, and I didn't watch it this week. What were you talking about there?
What were we talking about on the last week relative to censorship? Yeah, Pickaxe was the website. Gosh, so much has happened since then, and I've been traveling. I went all the way to LA and saw my new grandson. And so it's all kind of a blur, Todd.
No worries. No worries. We've just experienced some throttling on X. That's why I was asking. Let's talk Fani Willis. Big news in Georgia Supreme Court yesterday.
It's about time.
Yeah, it is. What say you on this ruling? Is it good? I know the consequences look to be good.
Well, it's very good, but you know, I had, unfortunately, I have more dealings with the legal system than I would like.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the judges are just weak.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear about splitting the baby.
Yeah.
And I swear, I think that's in the jurist manual. There must be a paragraph that says this is what you do. And you just make sure that everybody is unhappy, but nobody is too badly hurt. And it's just weakness to me. Judge McAfee, he knew that Fani Willis had violated the canons of ethics of the bar, and he knew that she had a blatant, they say appearance of impropriety. Bull. It wasn't an appearance. It was frickin' improper conduct.
Yeah.
She paid her lover $750,000. That's your money and mine. Taxpayer money. It is your listeners' money. And what did they do with the money? They took cruises and went out to Napa Valley and went to the Caribbean. It is just so wrong. But Judge McAfee said, well, one of the two of you have to get off the case and you have to decide which one.
Yeah.
What a weakling.
Yeah, totally.
And Fani Willis had been his boss. So they knew each other. They had a relationship with each other. So Fani and her lover looked at each other and she said, well, you got to go. And he said, okay, well, I'll go. I got the money. I'll take the money and run.
Yeah.
Which is what he did.
Yeah.
And then, but Judge McAfee said, well, if you don't like, to the petitioners, if you don't like my weak verdict or weak decision, I'll grant you an interlocutory appeal to the Court of Appeals. So in other words, just, I ain't doing it. It's too hot a potato here.
Yeah.
We'll give it to the Court of Appeals. They ruled that she had a conflict of interest, or actually, I think they ruled that at a minimum, she had an appearance of a conflict. They removed her from the case against Trump and the other 18 people, most of whom I know, by the way, most of whom are the most admirable, dedicated patriots that you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And then the gratitude that they've been extended for trying to save our country is having to go into court and defend themselves on this fake narrative that they were trying to overturn the election. That is such a crock. Nobody, including Donald Trump himself, tried to overturn the election. What he did do is say, time out. There's a lot of evidence of election fraud. Let's look. Let's delay certification of the vote. Let's have a genuine good faith look at the vote and determine whether this election was accurate and warrants certification.
Yeah.
So that's the truth of what happened. But then the media and the spinsters reframe that and say, "Oh, he tried to overturn the election."
So
Anyway.
do you think there'll be a malicious prosecution suit against Fulton County? Will they get some of their attorney's fees back? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. The Supreme Court ruled 4-3 that she should be removed from the case. I don't think they went far enough. They determined, I have a plaque in my office where I'm admitted to practice law before the Supreme Court of Georgia. They should have removed her from the bar for her impropriety, or have ordered an referred it to the bar and let them investigate her further. I mean, let's get has anyone gotten the bank records? No.
Who knows?
Has anybody really delved into this? Has anybody put each of them in a separate room under oath and questioned them with a court reporter? That's what needs to happen. That's what should happen. That's what would happen if it were you or me.
Yeah, for sure.
And instead, they're letting her off the hook.
Well, Georgia has a problem with accountability, obviously. And let me switch gears real quick before I need to let you go. The Ponzi scheme in Georgia, they're just ignoring it. I know you've been pretty vocal on this, but those people are still in power that were involved. The family is still in power in the Georgia GOP to this day, I think, in multiple ways.
Well, I don't think they've gone away. That's for sure.
Well, they're still in their positions, I think. At least Krista Frost and Katie Frost, I believe, are still in their positions. I could be wrong.
That I'm not sure of. I know Brandt, I guess the fourth, whatever he is, the son.
Yes,
he got off the Coweta Republican Executive Committee, but I think he's just gone into the background and is still there. I mean, I don't know. It's a mess, and they have circled the wagons and they have disenfranchised the grassroots. That's the best light that you could frame it in. Is there out and out corruption? I suspect it. I smell it. I mean, the Fulton County Republican Party and their $2 million trust fund that someone left generously for the election of Republican candidates. I don't think it's gone to candidates. It's gone to pollsters and direct mail houses, lobbyists.
Union lobbyists. Yeah, I mean, we've done a 9-part series on that on the Georgia.
I know you have, and I commend you for your good work. And we were promised that after the convention that we would get the forensic accounting report. We haven't gotten squat, and it's just a whitewashed cover up.
Yeah, big time.
And I think it would indict people that you and I both know, some of whom I actually like, but I'm sorry, the facts need to lead the way on it. And someone has got to stand up and say, no more of this. We have to be better than the Democrats, or else we may just fold all in and have a uniparty.
Yeah, totally. One more question. I asked you this beforehand, but if you didn't have a chance to look into it, that's cool. But the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, where it allowed the government to propagandize the U.S. Citizenry. There's been an effort by Massey to get rid of it, but do you see anything else to try to stop the propagandization of the American public?
Well, my understanding is that law prevents the Radio Free Europe from broadcasting inside the United States, so that there cannot be the temptation to invoke propaganda. And to my knowledge, that law still stands, I believe.
Well, I think this is dealing more with like allowing media companies to lie, I think is the situation.
Yeah, well, I'm all in favor of that. Okay. Good luck. I mean, I think Trump really did us a service in that he made people aware that we were being lied to. And he's so smart in the way he goes about it. He didn't say, "Oh, you're a bunch of liars." He just says fake news. Well, that's code word for you're a bunch of liars. Yeah. And that's what they continue to do. I think the strongest and the best counter to that is just unsubscribe. Just stop reading the
Totally.
New York Times,
Totally.
and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which is every bit as bad, and vote with your feet and just don't pay the subscriptions. That is the best way to lead to their obsolescence and marginalize them.
So
I've got concerns about legislating speech.
mhm.
I think you get on a very slippery slope in a hurry, and then it becomes a tactic, just like the weaponization of the judiciary system, which we have seen being played out, frankly, on both sides, but worse on the liberal Dems for sure, and the Democrats. But
well, I was shocked yesterday with Pam Bondi's statement. I was like, "What? You're rewriting the Constitution here on public television?" I mean, where she said that hate speech, we're going to target you for hate speech. I thought, wow.
yeah, and then who determines what's hate
Right.
and what I just hate that you said it.
Yeah.
You know, you know, there's a very thin line there, and I think we get on very thin ice with hot skates when we start trying to limit free speech. That's the problem. And so what I'm calling for is that the citizens of the United States, as a one giant community, condemn speech that we don't like, which is happening right now, in fact, with these lunatics that have celebrated Charlie Kirk's death.
Yeah.
They are companies. I commend each and every one of them who have had the guts to stand up to these people, like Office Depot, who fired the woman that refused to print a poster with Charlie Kirk's picture and the dates of his life, calling it political propaganda. What propaganda? What are you talking about? This guy was assassinated. This is his picture, and here were the dates that he lived. Well, I mean, I don't know if you saw the tape or not of that. It was just, I mean, you look at it and you just say, okay, this is a mentally ill person. This person is not have mental capacity or the ability to reason. And so Office Depot terminated her. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Thank God.
And that's happening a lot. And I celebrate that. And so maybe Walmart will hire them as greeters. I don't know, but they'll probably figure out a way to bring their politics into that role as well.
So you've got a really, really popular show. I like having you on because you're extremely knowledgeable on a variety of subjects, and the show is good. It's entertaining. It's informative. Tell us how people can find it.
Well, I really appreciate those kind words, Todd. Well, one place you can find it is on cdm.press, because you carry our stream every Saturday and Sunday from noon to 2 and put it out on your platforms. We really appreciate that. We're also on the John Fredericks Radio Network on those same hours in 8 cities on 22 AM and FM radio stations from Atlanta to Morgantown, West Virginia, and parts in between like Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Richmond. And then we have johngordon.tv. All of our past episodes are on there. We're also on all the podcast, Apple podcast. And what's the other one, Anthony, that it's skipping my mind? You've given me a cheat sheet. Spotify, iHeart podcast, and also on social media, Facebook, X, TikTok, Instagram, and Getter.
Cool. It's everywhere. You got to be everywhere these days.
But if people listening to you would like to communicate with me, I really love it when I get email, and I get a fair amount of it. I promise I'll read it and I will answer you as well. JohnGordonTruth@gmail.com. Let me hear from you.
And you're pretty good with email, I have to say. Thank you, John. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Todd. It's a pleasure.
Right. Take care, my friend.